What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about supply and demand. This is going to be a very simple video. We're not going to get too in depth. We're just going to explain, what supply and demand is, how it forms, where you can find supply and demand, and depending on what you like in this video. If you like the way supply and demand works, and you find a way you can trade it, then you can add it to your trading style. You don't have to add this to your trading style. I mean, I really recommend that you do, because supply and demand is easiest way that you could really trade these markets. And when dealing with smart money, it's super simple. But I'm going to show you guys how we look at supply and demand, how it forms, how can you spot it, all that other stuff. If you want to join the Discord, link is in the description. If you want a one-on-one session, the link is in the description, right? If you just want to talk to me about something, you want to maybe email me, you could hit me up on Instagram. When we're talking about supply and demand is basically you identify areas where institutions, banks, whatever you want to call them, where they have bought or sold the market. So if the banks bought the market at a certain area, you would label that as demand. If they sold the market at a certain area, you would label that as supply. Okay, so demand, you're looking for buys; supply, you're looking for sales. All right, that's the easiest way to look at it without going in depth. Okay, so when we talk about demand, right, let's talk about demand first. Usually when you see an accumulation, right, accumulation happens when banks are placing orders in the market. Okay, when banks and institutions are trying to buy the market, they can't just buy the market off the rip. So instead, they place their orders like this, so they can get their orders filled. Okay, so usually you'll see accumulation. That's when the accumulation schematic happens, and typically after the accumulation happens, you'll see the market just skyrocket. Why? Because banks got into the market. Banks were all buying in here. So now this becomes a demand area, because once the market comes down here, you're going to expect a buy from this area, because banks and institutions recently accumulated here. So if they recently accumulated here, most likely than not, they're going to want to buy from here again, or react and mitigate their orders from here, right? You go in and see, you find a sponsored candle, and that could be your demand. Okay, one thing I want to tell you is this whole area is a demand zone. Okay, you can consider this whole accumulation as demand zone. But what you could also do, and this is where the point of interest and slingshots and everything like that comes in when we're talking about our POIs. You can go in and you can find a specific sponsor candle, order block that has not been mitigated, and you can mark that out as your point of interest, meaning this is where you want to see the market come and mitigate, instead of trying to look at the whole area as a whole. It doesn't mean this whole area isn't valid. You're just trying to go in and find a precise area that you're looking for a specific buy-in, because yes, this whole area is a demand zone, but if inside of this demand zone everything else is mitigated and only this order block needs to mitigate, there's no reason for them to go lower and then go up, right? They're gonna come down and mitigate what hasn't been mitigated, and then continue towards the place that they want to go to. Okay, so you can use supply and demand as entries. That's the that's the optimal way to use it areas to look for entries from, but you can also use it as areas to look for targets, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so this is one way of demand, right? This is one way of demand. You have accumulation, you have another demand, which is reaccumulation, which looks like this, right? It could look like this, or it could be more slanted like this. So basically, when you're looking at reaccumulation, it's the same thing as an accumulation. It's just reaccumulation. So typically you see the market do something like this. Let's talk about market cycle. You'll see an accumulation happen like this, and the market will go up, come down, and reaccumulate, right? So what you want to focus on is that word accumulate. Accumulate means they're buying the market. Banks are buying the market. So essentially, to kind of simplify a little bit, accumulation, which means the banks bought the market here, market went up, and then we're reaccumulated. What does that mean? They bought the market again. Okay, so both of these areas now are demand areas. Both of these areas can be considered demand areas. Now, if this area has already got mitigated, then you're going to mostly focus on this area. But what you want to do is, when you have an accumulation or reaccumulation, you don't have to pick and choose one one area, right? You don't have to go, oh, I like this area over that area. You can choose both areas. Look for a buy here first. As the market comes down here, look for, you know, maybe some lower time frame entries, or if you want to take a limit order. I don't recommend taking limit order on a reaccumulation because it's a continuation move, right? This is the move right here that's holding this. This is where the original, you know, buying started. So I'd more likely like to take a limit order from here, but you know, that's you. So you're gonna obviously tell where the clear demand and supply zones are, right? When I get to the market and we kind of like look at it, I'm gonna show you. You're gonna obviously tell. So let me go ahead and demonstrate the distribution. Okay, so usually distribution just is the opposite of an accumulation. It means banks, institutions are selling, right? They're distributing their orders, so they're getting out of the market, which means they're selling their orders. Okay, and yes, I teach all of this in my mentorship, right, on the Discord. So when you're trying to talk about Wyckoff, it can be very confusing. So that's why I haven't really uploaded a video on this like that, because it can be very confusing. And I'd rather you just, if you really want to learn the Wyckoff and, you know, how to trade it, you know, stuff like that, I just recommend you either you can go look up some other videos. I know some other people have videos on it and they teach it, but if you want to learn it from me, I do it in a mentorship. Haven't really made a video on it yet. It can be very complicated. Okay, so yes, this is a distribution. So this becomes a supply zone because banks have sold from this area, right? So we expect the market to come back up and then sell. Okay, now the other supply zone can be looked at as a redistribution, right? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing as the accumulation or reaccumulation. It's just opposite. So you have it looking like this. You'll have a slanted, and then you'll have one that is kind of like, you know, sideways. Both of them are redistribution. Okay, so essentially what's going on, it's the same way. You have, let's say you have a distribution that formed here. And kind of connect that. The market distributes, right? Redistributes, and then we continue down. So it's the same thing. You're going to look for sales here. Your next area is going to be here, right? And then inside of this whole supply zone, you can go in and mark out specific candles or specific order blocks that you want to look for a sell from. Okay, that's when the POIs and everything like that come in. All right, so that's basically how you're going to identify and see what supply and demand looks like. Okay, so here, this whole area is a demand zone. You can see the reaccumulation. Look where the market came into. And I believe there was a candle in here as well. Tapped in here, and then we bought from here. Okay. This right here is a distribution. This is a supply zone. Okay. If I said supply, I meant demand here, by the way. I don't know what I'm. Yeah. So let's look at it some more. Right. Well, let me go ahead and zoom out for you. I'm going to show you this clear market cycle on this. Okay. So on EU, let's look at EU, right? We have accumulation, reaccumulation, and then we have this distribution that's happening right here. What I want you to see is look how the market targets these areas. Okay. Supply and demand can be used very good if you know how to use it. All right, you can see the market bought from this area. So this is our most recent demand zone. When the market comes down, look where we react from. Demand. We react from demand first. Okay, the market decides to go up. Now I'm on like the 8-hour time frame. These are, you can catch a great buy in here and catch that, you know, little move right there. Okay, the market, the banks decide they want to sell. Okay, we sell. Look, the market does not stop selling until we reach another area of demand, as you can see here. So what you can assume is if this continues down, where are we going to target? The next area of demand, right? Essentially, you can use supply and demand for entries, or, you know, or you can use them for targets. If you're in a sale in any, you know, if you're getting a sale on EU anywhere here, let's say you got in a sale here, your target can be this demand zone. Or let's say you get in a sale, or you are in a sale here and you're anticipating the market to continue lower, you're going to target this demand zone. Okay, it's that simple. So that's how you can use it, like on a higher time frame scale. And like I said, it can be used on lower time frame, intraday. You're going to see it everywhere. All right, so let's look at EU right now. on this 1 hour time frame. So let's look at this. We have the market sell, up, sell. This is a supply zone, right? This becomes a redistribution. So from this redistribution, you can zoom in. So this is our supply zone, right? This whole area is our supply zone. But what I say, you zoom in and you find what needs to be mitigated. So just go straight to the candle. It was the 6-minute candle here that you could look at. All the way up here, the market comes, reacts off of this supply zone, and we continue lower. Cool. Now let's go on the opposite side. Remember I said order blocks, sponsor candles, those can also be considered demand and supply as well, as long as it makes sense. Not any order block or whatever the case may be, not every order block is demand or supply. You have to make it make sense. So we can consider this a demand, right? Why? Because look at this sponsor candle or / order block, right? This right here caused this entire move. So what you want to see is when you're looking at these sponsor candles, like I said, not every sponsor candle is a demand, right? Or not every order block is a demand. You're not going to see the market react off of every one of these candles. You have to look at the context. You have to look what happened around the candles, right? You can see after this candle, we have this impulsive move. We have imbalance. That's clear as day to say that, okay, there was some type of institution buying here. Even right here, if we go even lower, right? On this area, right? You have this candle. Let's look what happened. Clear as day. You can see from this area, there was some type of bank or institution buying from here because we have imbalance, we have impulsive move. It shows that some type of, higher person in the market got in this area, creating these higher time frame moves, creating these bigger and larger and longer moves. Okay, when you see that, you know that banks and institutions are participating in the market, right? You have to be smart about it. Even though these areas didn't create completely new highs or whatever case may be, these are still potential scalp moves. Okay, these are still potential scalp moves that you can take. Overall, EU is bearish. Okay, so you have to understand when you put it with market structure, you have to understand how to use these areas. You have to understand how to play from these areas. You have to understand whether you're going to hold or you're going to, kind of scalp. So when you're looking at this on this bearish structure, you know that, okay, EU is most likely going to continue lower. So when you get inside these demand zones, you're either looking for a small reaction or you're looking for a small pullback. So when you get into these trades off of these demand zones on EU, you're looking for small movements. You're looking for small movements. And then once you have the sell points of interest and you have the sells and you have the supply zones come in, you're going to look for larger moves down. Okay, you're going to look for larger move downs because EU most likely wants to continue lower. Okay. A lot of people come to me and say, okay, I just want to trade order blocks, or I just want to see how to trade order blocks. It's not that simple because yes, order blocks, you're going to see good reactions from them, but not every order block is going to be valid. That's why, that's where a lot of losses come in. That's where I took a lot of losses because I was straight trading order blocks. And then I understood which order blocks hold and which order blocks don't hold. Like I knew this order block was going to hold and that order block wasn't going to hold. Why didn't this order block hold? Well, this is not part of any demand. You see what I'm saying? So when you mix demand and then you mix the order blocks together, you're going to see which one holds. So like this area, I knew this order block here on this supply zone was most likely going to hold because it's part of a not demand, but supply zone. Okay. This whole area is a supply zone. So if I see an order block inside of this supply zone, I know that order block most likely going to hold and I can look for entry there or I can take a limit order there. Okay, you're going to realize that. So just be careful, right? Do not trade order blocks alone. Look for confirmations. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope this video helped you gain some knowledge on supply and demand, or gave you some insight on it, or maybe you want to learn it more, or whatever the case may be. Okay, if you want to, if you have any questions about anything, just reach out to me, whether it be the Discord, one-on-one sessions, or you just want to talk to me about whatever the case may be. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.